finally filming a book chat. I talked about this when I finished Mrs. Sherlock Holmes, like, God, I don't even know how many weeks ago now. But I feel like I'm just such an a-hole in it. Like, I pretty much, like, I don't know if I really want to put that video out there into the universe because it's just not nice. I'm not nice in that video. And if I do, I feel like if I do a book review, I can censor so much better. And not that I would ever say something's good or it's not good. I feel like I'm a little bit over talking it. So I don't know. Hey guys, it is Mia, and I'm here today to talk to you guys for just a little bit about a book that I've recently read called Mrs. Sherlock Holmes by Brad Ricca. Now, this is the first time that I have felt so compelled since starting my YouTube channel, or at least starting this YouTube channel, to actually make a video about a book that I've read. And I feel like the reason that I want to make this video is because I feel so strongly about some of the issues that I had with this book, and I really, like, honestly just needed to talk about it with somebody. So without further ado, let's get into chatting about Mrs. Sherlock Holmes by Brad Ricca. Now, I've got some notes here that I am going to reference just so that I make sure I hit all of the points that I want to hit about this book. And the first being that I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. And a 2 out of 5 stars was quite generous. Because overall I did not care for this book. And I'm going to try and be as nice about this as I can, but still firm in my opinion that I did not like this book. And a 2 out of 5, I gave it a 2 instead of a 1 because there were bits and pieces of this book that were very well done and I did really enjoy reading. To start with, I feel like the major problem that I had with Mrs. Sherlock Holmes was it seemed like the author did not have a clear end goal for how he wanted this book to be read, to be perceived, to be marketed, to be put out into the world. It almost, quite honestly, seemed like it was a mystery thriller competing against a narrative biography. So it almost seemed like you had these dueling attempts on one side trying to be a mystery thriller of solving this incredible case of a missing girl and trying to get it. And that was even part of the blurb about this book talks about that. So when I picked it up, I thought it was going to be a mystery thriller with a little bit of like personal biographical information about our main character, you know, like sprinkled in here and there within the story, but the main premise was going to be this mystery thriller about trying to find this girl and, you know, go into the underbelly of the city. And that was not the case. There was probably I don't know, a good chunk, I would say 60 to 75% of this book was devoted in a biographical sense towards the main female character, Grace Humiston, who by her own right is a very, very incredible woman. She's a role model in her own right. No, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. She was absolutely amazing. However, when you're writing the story, there was just a lot in there that to me didn't seem like it really meshed well and was trying to be more like biographical and do that and not really the mystery thriller. And then the bits that were the mystery thriller aspect of it didn't really work well with the biographical features of the book. So I kind of felt like the novel itself became very unreadable very quickly because when you're settling in, it doesn't give you a chance to really get lost in who Grace is, what she did, or any of that. It just kind of spits information at you. And yeah, that's pretty much it, which I'll get into as one of my minor points. But that is my major issue that I had with this story, was that it became unreadable because you have this mystery thriller aspect and the biographical aspect, and they're not playing well together in any way, shape, or form. So there was that. Another issue that I had with this book, which is unheard of for me, was the fact that the timeline jumped around. Now, I love a good time jump. I'm a fan of going back in time, going forward, all of that stuff. I love a good time jump. However, only if it relates to the story and it fits in well. This novel, the first third of the novel, I don't even know where we were in the timeline. I don't know how it all related together, because we started with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in New York, doing whatever he was doing. I don't even know what he was doing in New York, but he did interviews and talked about, the women's suffrage movement, and he did all this, like, it didn't even relate to the story other than he was the person who created Sherlock Holmes, which then led to her being dubbed later on, the ability to have her dubbed as Mrs. Sherlock Holmes. And then we jumped to the girl going missing, and then we jumped back. So this is the third. We started with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, jumped to this girl's disappearance, and then jumped back to, like, Grace Humiston's first ever case. Which, in your mind, you think, okay, like, I could see how that would work, but it didn't work, because the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle bits didn't really relate into the story at all. It was never referenced again. It was almost just there to say, hey, I found this cool tidbit about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and his visit to the States, and I thought it was really nifty, so I put it in there. So take that out. And then you look at the time jumps, and you jump, so you're starting here, then you jump back to her, and you meet a little bit of her, and then you jump back forward to the case, and it wasn't seamless, and it didn't relate in any way, shape, or form. And that's where it comes into, going back to that story and having the mystery thriller and the biography fighting against each other. Because the author obviously wanted to talk about how incredible Grace Humiston was. Honestly, this book would have done so much better if it was just listed as a narrative biography of Grace Humiston. This incredible woman, these are all of her merits. It would have done so much better, because it wouldn't have been put out that the book is revolving around this one topic, because it did not at all in any way, shape, or form. And the bits that were about the topic were very confusing. We jumped to Italy at one point to follow another character's situation that had, a minor bit to do with the case, but nothing to do with the attorney. It just didn't all come together and weave a story that made sense. It was a constant battle, and it became very unreadable. The last 100 pages of this book, I wanted to DNF. I really wanted to just say, I'm done, wipe my hands clean of it. I cannot read any more of it, because it just became very, like, oh my god, and here's some more, and here's some more. The case is over by now. Like, what else are we doing? And to be completely honest, when they found what they found, it was just a big disappointment at that point, and after that, it was just it went downhill very quickly. And then the other thing that really bothered me about this story, again, relates back to the story. A lot of this stuff just comes down to, whether it's a mystery thriller or a narrative biography, and those two ideals fighting against each other rather than working together. And that was the fact that the author just did a lot of information dumping. I would say a good chunk of this book was literally the author had found out all of this information about Grace Humiston and wanted to share it, so he just plopped it in wherever he needed some filler. Wherever he needed a little bit more space, there was a lull in whatever action you want to call it, and he needed to put in, some information. He just dumped all of this information that he found about Grace Humiston, which relates back to my bigger issue with the book of the two different genres fighting against each other rather than working well together. I honestly think this book could have been absolutely incredible. It really could have done what I thought it was going to do, had those two genres not been just fighting against each other. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't know how to write that or how it could have been written. Well, I do know how it could have been written differently, but I'm not an author of this type of a story, so I don't know about that. But I will say, on the whole, I would not recommend this book to anybody because I personally found it very unreadable. And I just found it very hard to get through because you can't really let yourself get into the story when the story is constantly fighting against itself. And that's how I really felt about this book. So, yeah. I hope that you enjoyed this little book chat. And let me know if you've read this book or not. And let me know down below. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next time.